All right, welcome Dean Randall. We are happy to have you here today with our public forum. We, as you know, have a couple minutes for you to introduce yourself and let us know about your interest in this position, and then we will move towards questions when you're finished.
Okay,
Thanks.
Smitha, thank you.
Thank you.
Can everybody hear me okay? Well, that kind of reverberated a little bit, so I'll move it down. I am not a great AV specialist. You know what? I am so excited to spend some time with you today to just think about the future of this university. I am passionate about this place. My family says I'm irrationally passionate, and I love that. This place has transformed me since I was a student. It has transformed my career. It has really made me imagine a different world for me, for my family, for students. And I want to just have a dialogue about that today. It probably isn't lost on many of you that we may be sitting in front of the biggest opportunity that higher education and healthcare has to offer right now. Let's go through a few of those things. We've got a growing state, population-wise. We've got an economy that's probably a little bit too hot right now. We have funds in the legislature that are getting moved around right now that they want to invest in us, in higher education, and in the future. We are an AAU school. Our research dollars are going off the charts. I could go on and on and on. So what I would like to challenge you all with is, let's be bold. Let's do something that will knock our socks off and everybody else's socks off. And let's dare to be a premier institution of higher learning. I think there was a quote that I found this year is by Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She was the president of Liberia and a Nobel Prize winner, and I'm sure many of you have heard it. It says, if your dreams don't scare you, you're not dreaming big enough. So I think it's our moment, it's our time, it's an inflection point. It's when we can actually do something that moves our stature up in the world of higher education. And I would love to do that with you. But I also commit to you that as we do this, and I promise you that it will be an inclusive vision, regardless of sex, socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, religion. We are here to bring everyone in. This is a place where society gets transformed. It's where we learn to get along with each other. It's where we have to model that behavior, but we also have to give that as a gift to our students, because that will be one of the major challenges of our lifetime. And it will be the defining way we think of ourselves in the future. It's how we treated and we included others. But I want to be inclusive on every dimension. When I say inclusion, I mean we're going to lift every college and every area of campus as well. I have been a business school dean, but we have to lift everyone. I had some amazing experiences when I was here as a student. Brooke Hopkins, an English professor, pulled me in after my first exam. He gave me an F. It was actually an essay. And at the bottom of that piece of paper, it said, "Come see me." I rewrote it 4 times. I got to a B+. But you know what? He taught me what I didn't know. He taught me I could improve. He taught me analytical skills. They were amazing. I was scared to death to present in front of people. Someone said, you ought to take an extemporaneous acting class. And I was asked to be a talking elevator door. And I was supposed to have conversations with people that actually walked in. that class, right? That class changed the way I think about presenting to you here today. Taught me to tell stories, taught me to be myself, right? That is what we do as a comprehensive university. We are going to increase the prosperity and opportunities for everyone. Now, my opinion, a leader has to set a bold vision, but I can't be too articulate about that and too precise, because that's kind of what we do together. It's the conversations we have and how we decide who we're going to be. But I think there are some themes that we can focus on. And the reason I've chosen these themes is because I think they're going to resonate with a lot of different stakeholders. And the first of those themes revolves around, I think, innovation and creativity. I want you to think of it as, for those of you that are hard science researchers, it's the research we do and the discovery we make. For those of you that like to see this discovery make it into the marketplace, it's the commercialization engine that we have. But it's also the fact that we have enormously creative individuals all over campus. Wouldn't it be amazing, right, if at the next inauguration, the poet laureate was from our school? Wouldn't it be stunning if Tony Award after Tony Award after Tony Award came out of people that were in our fine arts department? I think that's the type of innovation and creativity that's going to resonate with our constituent groups. I think the second major theme is going to be an intense focus on the student experience. I don't think we recognize how difficult sometimes it is for certain groups of students to be here on campus. We have to create a sense of belonging. This hit me home really early on in my deanship. I asked for a list of 100 people that I could call personally, and this was 100 people that had not shown up on campus. So I started calling. Turns out, not a lot of people answered my phone call. But the 20 or 25 that I did get a hold of, it was startling and horrible what I found out. There were people from first-generation families that were just sitting at home doing nothing because they couldn't figure out how to navigate our processes. We can make that improvement. We can change that. But the student experience isn't just getting here, it's making sure that it's affordable, that it pays back to people. We have to make sure that it's inclusive. We have to think about our admissions criteria to make sure they're both rigorous, but also making sure we're including pieces of society that we're here to serve. And then the final thing I think we've got to focus on, and this is, I will give full credit to my predecessor, and I have learned a lot through this experience. Think about our One Utah initiative and the fact that we're now doing a lot of work across parts of campus. We have learned we're learning and we've developed a capability to really solve interdisciplinary problems. I would like to take that and use it in the community in a service regard. And again, let's use what Ruth Watkins said, let's be a university for Utah. There is so much that we can do to create and solve the social challenges and opportunities that are coming our way in this state. And we are uniquely positioned to do that. This firsthand, I was asked a year ago to sit next to the head of the Department of Health and the head of Commissioner of Public Safety. I was supposed to represent economic interests in trying to navigate COVID-19. And explicitly, they came to me and said, I want you to bring to bear the expertise of the University of Utah. And we put together a project called the HERO Project. This is epidemiologists, healthcare, people from business, people that know about the economy. And we started to try to navigate things. And I'm going to tell you, when the postmortem is done, you're going to see the best work in the world was done here. We were 2 weeks ahead, week and a half to 2 weeks ahead of the national news. When something would pop, we'd go, well, we already knew that. We knew infection rates earlier. We knew where it was hitting earlier. We saw the differential effects on different populations earlier, and we were able to deploy resources to try to deal with that. It was great to have the University of Utah in the room. They did not always listen to what we've had to say, but we were in the room. So I'm going to stop, but I want to just tell you, I'm passionate about this place. I believe in us. I think that for me, there's no other job in higher education that I would rather have. And I think if we bring our creativity to bear, if we focus that on students, and we think about serving the constituent groups of this state, to use a horrible analogy, we're going to hit a home run. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Randall. While people feel free to come up to the mics, and we'll just alternate starting on the one to my right. I'm going to start with a question from online while people get settled at the mics. So the CDC has provided new recommendations on wearing masks indoors where there is a surge of COVID. Many large corporations now mandate vaccinations and other precautions. We at the U are following a volunteer protocol among faculty, staff, and students. As president, is there anything else you would do to assure the safety of our community, given the recommendations of best practice from the scientific and corporate communities? That is one of our online questions for you.
Okay. Yes, thank you for that question. Boy, we are in a really interesting kind of spot right now. And I think our scientific community is doing a really good job of providing recommendations. As you all know, we have a set of laws that have been actually sent down from our legislature. And at this point, we've got to operate within those laws. I will say that there is opportunity and discussion to be in the conversation to try and influence that. And I think we will take those recommendations that we have to those bodies and give them our recommendations as well. But right now, what we're doing is probably the most aggressive thing we can do. And I know to many of you that probably doesn't feel very good. I will tell you, in our school, what we've tried to do is have really individual dialogues with people. This is a personal thing, right? Every one of us has something in the way it's hitting us. And what we've tried to do is give the leaders in our organization the leeway to have some flexibility, right? So for example, if a young parent comes and says, I'm really uncomfortable having a student in my office, we try to find a distant way to manage that. So what I think we've got to do more of in the given constraints is a lot more of these kind of one-on-one conversations to try to make sure people are okay. You know, COVID's a short-term thing, and we got to remember our people are the long-term thing. And while we've got some constraints, we've really got to be patient and empathetic with people and where they are, and try to figure out ways to help them.
Thanks. Okay, we'll start here on my right.
Thank you. My name is Mark Honig. I'm the manager of the English department. I'm a staff. It's a staff position, and my question is about staff. What role do you think the president of this university would play in enhancing the life of a staff person? And how will I know in 3-5 years, that your office has made any kind of a difference in my life?
Yeah, thanks. So maybe I'll get a chance to talk a little bit, but one of my just kind of core principles is that I have to listen, and I have to be a really good listener and try to understand the issues and problems and opportunities that people have. And so I would think, I would hope, right, as a president, that I listen to the team that we have here. And the staff is an extremely important part of the team. You've borne the brunt of COVID. You work hard to make sure our students and our faculty are well. And we owe extreme gratitude, particularly in the last year, to what our staff has done. We are facing in the business school, and Mark, I'd love to hear if this is what you're facing. We're seeing big salary opportunities for people to leave. And this is a people organization first and foremost. And as you see turnover, it really starts to hurt. So I would hope you'd see some increase in the support we provide to staff. I would hope that we can get creative with different types of flexible work arrangements. Not all of my job satisfaction comes from just my pay. It comes from the people I work with, the culture we have, the flexibility that I am given. So I hope you'd see along those dimensions, we would listen. We would try to implement some things that would make your life better, because I actually truly believe you'll make the students and this university's life better as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Peter Stang from chemistry. We have a remarkable set of professional schools: law, business, medicine, engineering. You come from one of them, one of the best ones. What would you do for the academic side and make sure that the academic side receives its fair share? Or to put it bluntly, what does a dean of business know about science?
Peter, can I say I probably failed my chemistry class as well?
That's all right.
What's that?
Who did you have as a teacher? Was it me?
I wasn't going to say anything, Peter. I really wasn't. I really wasn't. Well, so a couple things. First of all, I am not leading a professional university. I would lead a comprehensive research one university. And I believe deeply in the discovery that occurs here in the basic sciences and in all parts of campus. We see there are many, many other places that I would go work if I just wanted to manage a professional school, right? And I believe firmly that we've got to strengthen all aspects of campus. My father's actually a graduate from your department, just so you know. So the only chemistry I have comes from him, and it's been usually over the dinner table or some crazy experiments that he makes things blow up in our house and things like that. But anyway, he's, and so, I have a deep appreciation for the basic sciences. What I would like to see happen is to make sure that and again, Peter, I would listen. We got to make sure we've got a set of processes in place so that your grants and the resources are flowing in a way. So I don't understand, right, the chemistry you're doing, but I do understand the resources you need. And in my school, the researchers tell me they need three things: time, money, and space. And those are the constraints that I would try to lift, right, to try to make those happen. We built a few buildings on the business school campus. We figured out creative ways of finding funders. There right now in this valley wealth is being created by these entrepreneurs at a rate we've never seen before. And many of them have very disparate interests. They're not in business because they've told me no many times. And so I think we've got really big opportunity. So thanks for the question. And you're going to know something. I'm never going to be the smartest guy in the room, Peter, particularly about chemistry. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Claudia Geist, Associate Dean for Research in the School for Cultural and Social Transformation. Thank you for sharing your vision. Given that there are tremendous global, but also very local challenges related to climate change and air pollution, where do you see the University of Utah driving an agenda of environmental anti-racism in ways both big and small?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I think one of the fun things for me about being in a university is the fact that we have a forum to hold discussion and debate. And I would love to see us, right, both on a local and national scale, leading these discussions. I mean, we have so much knowledge and creativity in the room. I think we can both educate just basically about what the issues are. And I think all of us know that right now there are a lot of issues out there that just there isn't understanding. So we should be the voice of doing that. But then I think the other thing that's really remarkable is we can be actually a lever of positive change, right? So we can go in, particularly in environment, right? And we can paint a future for people that are afraid that it's going to get left behind. We have not dealt particularly in your area of the environment, but we've done a lot at the business school on some projects in coal country, Utah. And it's really fascinating to see those dynamics, right? They know that power plants are going to close, but what they need is to know what's next for them. And we can use our creativity to kind of try to come up with solutions. I think that would be one of the most fun things that we could actually do as a campus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Dean Randall. I'm Dheeraj Chand in the University Advancement Office. And as you know, we have an incredibly unique and generous philanthropic and benefactor community. Capitalizing on this strength, what are some fundraising key strategies that you would have to engage existing donors in the community on behalf of the institution? And how would you go about involving communities that haven't typically been involved with giving?
Thank you. There's a lot to that question, Dheeraj. So if I don't get to all of it, will you come back and make sure I follow up? So can I just back up a second and say, this is gonna maybe sound strange, but I love fundraising. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy engaging with people. And some of my team are here, but it's a blast. And for me, it's this kind of interesting mix between art and science, right? Where it starts with alumni engagement and going to events and having people engaged and listening to faculty lectures, and you get to know them and you spend time with them and you just become great friends. And as you have those experiences at some time, you'll ask them a question like, what was your best moment at the University of Utah? And they'll tell it to you. And then of course you go, well, wouldn't you like to create about 3 more of those moments? And then the opening happens, right? And then you can start that process, but it requires time. It requires time in the community. And I have loved doing that as the business school. Now, the science then comes, right? And you mentioned communities that haven't, is identifying those groups of individuals that haven't been involved in that process. And sometimes you don't just go ask them for money, you actually ask them for some time and helping and mentoring students or getting jobs for students. And the money will come as you take a long view of people and get them engaged in this university. But you got to be a little patient. You got to kind of both use the science and the art to make it happen. And most definitely, Dheeraj, I know you do this, you got to enjoy it. You got to love what you do. And I think it's fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Dean Randall.
Hi.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I'm a second-year student here at the University of Utah in the business school. And my question is more surrounded around the safety of our students.
Yeah.
In our university's history, we've had some really tragic events happen on campus. More specifically, though, I want to talk about something that's affecting our student population, because I believe the first and foremost job of the university president is to protect students. As a student on this university, last year during COVID, I experienced homelessness and housing insecurity. As a student veteran and a non-traditional student, I find it that a lot of the non-traditional students that I meet with and talk to are having similar issues. So what will you do as our university president to be able to create a more affordable and safe environment for our non-traditional students and our traditional students here at the university? Thank you.
Can I understand where you, can I understand, just ask some questions for understanding a little bit? I don't
Yes.
mean to put you on the spot. Did you find those resources anywhere on campus? Did you?
I did
you see-
eventually
Yeah?
after
Was it
reaching
hard?
out.
It was hard?
It was extremely hard, actually. I got no email response, sometimes no phone call response. Had to show up to the Student Veteran Center on multiple occasions and was just told, well, just send an email and they'll get back to you. I understand that we were in a year of COVID, but as a veteran, as a Marine, I have a certain standard of professionalism. And I found that was lacking in our staff and our faculty at this university.
Mhm.
And it really showed a lack of care.
Yeah.
And it really made me feel like maybe I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And so,
Look,
It
every
was
one of
hard.
every one of those touch points matter, right? I mean, every single one. I'm sorry you went through that. Yeah, we've got to do better, particularly with safety. Let me back up a little bit and try to kind of address. I heard two issues there at once. One was the housing security, housing safety, and also violence and interpersonal violence that we've seen on campus. I think all of us just felt that tragedy, right? Particularly of Lauren McCluskey. And my goodness, all we can do is express sorrow, like now, and say sorry. We've got to do better on all these fronts. We got to make a difference for people. I think there are three things you've got to do fundamentally and organize yourself around them. One, sounds to me like we've got to change a culture, right? If people aren't answering phone calls, that's a culture thing. We've got to be proud about what we do. We've got to figure out ways that we're going to be responsive to people. One of the things we do in our organization to keep ourselves accountable is we sometimes do phone calls on ourselves, right? And we see how quick our colleagues actually respond. So that's just a simple example, right, of thinking about how you change culture. The second thing is you got to make sure you've got processes in place, which is why I asked, was there even a service on campus, right? And maybe before I get to that, you start with listening, right? There's got to be a mechanism that we hear from students and we understand what the issues are so that we can actually put those processes in place. If we were to focus on the inner personal violence issues that we've seen, we need victims advocates, right? We've got to have people that will talk to you, will feel like you're being heard, that will champion you during the process. And then we've got to have a set of processes that actually deliver results. I have a lot of experience in trying to design and change culture. It's hard work. It's a lot of conversations. It's putting the right people around the table. I hope we could do that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Dan Cairo. I'm a special assistant to the vice president for EDI.
Hi,
Hello, it's nice to meet you.
good to see you. I've seen your email signature a number of times.
Oh, yes.
But isn't it?
Email world. Hello
Yeah,
again. So in this work, we often observe that many entities who embark in doing EDI work primarily are focusing on diversity alone as a numbers game, as a count. Organizations are often successful in developing programs and initiatives that address diversity, but many aren't adept in establishing key performance indicators or measuring outcomes. So the question being, can you talk about the programs you have established and the measurable outcomes that you have achieved?
Yeah. Maybe I can talk about one in particular. Again, I'm going to reiterate this. I think particularly when you're dealing with DEI issues, there's kind of a listen, understand, and then take action. So let me describe how we tried to do that, to create a new program. We have a program called the First Ascent Scholars Program in our school. It was conceived to try to make the Dave Eccles School of Business more diverse, which was your first thing. It's just a numbers thing. But what we realized as we dug into the data before we started it is we had graduation outcome issues, we had career placement issues, and we were just losing people in the system. We also realized coming in that the diverse populations that were entering our school didn't feel welcome. We were struggling to recruit certain populations. And so we said, look, we want to make this investment just to make a dramatic change. So we started literally from admissions processes all the way through. And the way this works is we try to relax standards that we think may be creating biased outcomes. So, for example, we do a lot of interviewing and we just try to determine, does this person have that thing? that will get them through, right? And, you know, as you do these interview processes, I remember talking to one young man who had been working at McDonald's in Granger to support 5 family members. There was no way there were going to be good grades there. There was no way he was going to have time to take the ACT score, right? But that person, all of us on the committee said, that's it. That's it, right? And so we brought him in. And then we put a set of services around them, including mentors from their communities, professionals to start helping with career development early on. We're now 7 years into this. It's a small cohort. It's 10 to 12 a year, but of the 3 classes that have graduated, we're over 90%. And these are populations that are typically kind of around 20. So now where we are is we're saying, okay, how do we scale that, right? What are the elements that we can extract and put into place in other areas of the organization to make that work? And I've got some great associate deans that think about scale and how to abstract and how to make things work. So that's kind of where we are. Does that give you kind of a sense for what we try to do?
Yes.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Shiver. I work in the Office of Undergraduate Research. I am wondering if you can tell us a little bit about how you view the role of undergraduate students in the university's research mission. As you said, we're an
Yeah.
R1 institution. And then also if you could maybe contextualize that with your personal experience, either mentoring or structurally supporting undergraduate research
Yeah,
students.
yeah. Can I tell you a story? First, I'm telling too many stories. I did an honors thesis here. The data I gathered in the honors thesis was the basis of my first academic publication at the University of Utah. I owe my tenure to undergraduate research opportunities. It gave me the momentum to get things going. I am a big believer in the power of using undergraduates to do research. When I was research active faculty, what I tried to use most of my budget on was actually undergraduate researchers. I had them doing all crazy things. I remember doing a research on automotive brakes, and I had them down with calipers measuring the size of brakes at auto parts stores, right? And they would come back and they would say, what in the world are you doing with this data? But then you were able to lay it out. And what you would hope to do, right, is to have them take that piece of data and do an honors thesis, or take that data and explore what they wanted to do. So what we would hope, right, is that for any student that wants to kind of participate, we start thinking creatively about how we can put them in labs, how we can put them in experiential opportunities out in the field, whatever it takes, right? It's a differentiator for us as an R1 university. And we have to be able to tell that story in a powerful way, right? You don't want to go here because you're not going to get that. But if you come here, here are the 5 or 6 skills you're going to get as you come out and if you participate in undergraduate research.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Dean Randall, it's Curtis Morley, Director of the Collard Initiative on Technology. You've done some amazing revolutionary things with the business school, putting the school not only nationally ranked, but one of the best business schools in the world. How does that translate to the university as a whole? How does the things that you've done with the business school equate to all of the various different schools and as the organization in whole?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Are you asking, I'm going to try to restate. Are you asking how would I kind of take what we did at the business school and maybe generalize it, or?
Yeah, you talked about your vision of a bigger, better
Yeah,
university.
okay.
How does that apply?
I hope I'm going to get this right, or at least what you're asking. So my mental model, I think you have to have a mental model about how a university improves. My mental model is that it occurs at a college level, and it occurs because why is that the case? Because the colleges are closer to the faculty, the colleges are closer to the students, and that's where magic can happen. And so there are a set of levers that I think you have to then start pulling. Lever 1 is you've got to make sure you've got the faculty of a college, right? And the deans putting together what they want to be. By the way, I'm going to make a comment right now. Many people say, you're going to run this like a business. No, We've never been a business. We start with our mission, we start with our vision, we start with our ideas. But then, right, what I think the business school has been able to do is we have figured out a way to resource those ideas. And so in my mind, what we do is we sit down and understand where individuals want to go and where they want to take their colleges. And then we put together resource plans. And that's not simple. It's simply said. It takes a lot of hard work, right? But that's what I like to do. I like to roll up my sleeves and I like to create opportunities. So I think that's the approach I would take.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Eric Garcia. I work for United Neighborhood Partners at the University of Utah. And I work with a lot of families in the West Side. And for a lot of high school graduates in the West, they see the U as a shining beacon on a hill that's unattainable. They'd much rather go to Utah State or Dixie. As president, what would you do to help reach out to these students in the West Side?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. I don't mean to be a broken record, but you got to listen. I mean, my guess is the answer resides in talking to those individuals, trying to understand why and how they're making the decisions they are. Every time we've been able to sit down and talk and listen, we've been able to find ways that we could, we could change decisions that people make for the better. Because once you listen, you're going to understand what we're not offering. You're going to understand what people need to engage. It might be as simple as, you know what, when you apply to the University of Utah, you're always going to talk to Eric. And Eric will pay you overtime for this, right? But they're going to get to call you 24/7. And you're going to be able to tell them, because you've been in that community and you've come from that community, how to get there. And once you get the flywheel going, the momentum builds and builds and builds. You use people from the community, you use your alumni that are in the community, and you create support around those individuals.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi.
Hello, my name is Matthew Burbank. I am a faculty member in political science, and I am also the associate dean in the College of Social and Behavioral Science.
It's good to see you again.
And my question is, we've talked a little bit about fundraising here. You've obviously done that as the dean of the business school. My concern is, how do you put policies into place that will make sure that the decisions that are made about accepting funding and what will be done with funding are really being dictated by the university and not by donors solely?
Yeah, so Matthew, thank you for asking that question. You know what, this has become a harder and harder issue. And there are a variety of trends for this. Some of it is we just have more and more donors. We've had a shift in generational donors to a younger set that actually are much more concerned about how the money is being used and they want returns. And so, I've been through a number of these circumstances, and the way I think about it is the following, that I think as a community, we need to decide what our principles are. Our principles are, we get to do the research we want to do. Nobody tells us who we're going to hire, right? We can go on and on. We would make that list together. What I need as a fundraiser is to understand those boundaries, right? I have to understand those so that when I get out and I'm talking and I'm trying to, sell our university and sell our ideas, I know where I'm going to get in trouble and not. And then I would suggest that once we have those people that are excited about those ideas, and we do this a lot, we bring the faculty that are going to be affected by them into the room, right? And we try to set, again, then we get into the real detailed conversations. Well, what if I do this and I come up with this result? Are you going to be upset? Right? Well, we're going to hire this person. Are you going to be, we actually walk through hypotheticals. And there are times that we have to walk away from dollars at that point, right? But that's the type of process that I like to use. It does no good to me if I bring in money and nobody wants to use it and everybody's upset about having it, right? But if I've got a core group of faculty that feel comfortable that they can execute on their dreams and visions, then I'm excited about that. Yeah, thanks.
Hello, my name is Joyce, she, her, and I work in the Office of Admissions. So I kind of have two questions for you. The first is in regards to recruitment. So in general, in the past year, we've been told when it comes to recruitment, just grow as a university. So the first question is, in the next 10 to 20 years, what are some specific goals or visions you have in regards to recruitment for undergraduate admissions? And then my second question, kind of a follow-up to that, is we've been finding that a lot of our prospective students don't always understand the reputation or the value of the University of Utah. First off, out-of-state students may not even be able to place Utah on a map, and they may have certain stereotypes. And then in-state students, a lot of them were finding that they think the U is too expensive, or they're saying, you know, why do I need to drive to RCU when I can just go to SUU, UVU? So as president, if you were elected, what are some specific strategies or goals you have in mind to increase the value of the U to both our in-state and potential out-of-state students?
Okay, so two questions there, right? One is about growth in general, and then the other is really about the value proposition, right? Those are the two? Okay. So let me just tell you my approach to growth. And again, it starts with what we want to be and where we want to go. And my mantra is vision without a revenue, without a resource stream is just frustration. And so what I like to start with is, you know, here's what we want to do over the next 5-year period to make us a great institution. And it's what we're going to execute on. The example I'll give of our college is our faculty want to have more colleagues. So they want to grow the faculty, right? So then I just back in to what I need to grow from there with the various levers that I can pull. So I like to think a little bit more mission driven in terms of growth. It's not growth for growth's sake. We sit down and we say, well, how many students would we like to come in? How many students will help us achieve our dreams? So that's one way I look at it. The other way you look at it is around, again, creating an environment that's going to build the society we want of a future. So there you're starting at looking at different groups and where people are coming from, and you want to kind of think about it that way. So I'll leave that in terms of that's the way I think about recruitment and growth. It's the way we think about it in the business school. I agree with you that we have got to articulate clearly the value proposition of an R1 university and why, right, it is better. It has been the main thing we have tried to focus on at the business school, is try to communicate that. I feel like I'm uniquely positioned to do that because of some of the personal experiences I've had here. Let me give you one that may sound ludicrous to you, but seems to work from time to time. And actually, I've told this story before. Did I tell you? Have I already told the story about my spreadsheets? Have I told the spreadsheet story? All right. Sorry. I went to the university. I didn't go to the university. I was in Chicago for my first job, and they lined up 20 of us newbies, right, first week, and they said, who can do a spreadsheet? And I raised my hand. I was the only one. Right, this dates me completely. Do you know why I could do a spreadsheet? It's because we were doing research here. Our computer science department was working on it's kind of called VisicCalc or some weird thing that doesn't exist, right? But that's why we're here, right? I, for 3 years, was the master of spreadsheets at my company. Nobody else knew how to do them, right? That's the knowledge that we get. And that's what we get. And so I think we've got to tell the story in a much, much different way, right? And this is why we're here. But it's not just a story. You've got to have a differentiated experience, right? That people are like, well, here's the reason I'm coming here, right? So we think about, what are we going to do with our housing? We've got the Collard Village and the technology program. I mean, let's just package that up and say, look, here we go. We're doing that with Lassonde Studios, right? It's attracting people here. It's a unique experience that nobody gets anywhere else. And when they can't compare you with somebody else and they love it, they're going to choose you. And the discussion isn't going to be so much about tuition. It's going to be more about what a great experience I had.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we've come to the end of our time, but you've been so patient, and I apologize to the online folks who we've not asked many of their questions, but one last question.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Taylor. My name is Laisha. What does it mean to you to be an alumni of the University of Utah?
I am proud of this place. I am proud that I can walk out and point at the impact we've had on society. I love walking out and saying, did you know that the founder of Atari and Chuck E. Cheese went to our engineering school here? Did you know that Adobe was created here? Did you know that Wallace Stegner, who by the way is one of my favorite authors, right? You know that Wallace Stegner was here? Do you know that our chemistry department, here's a story for you, Peter. When I was in graduate school, I wasn't making much money, so I started taking care of a man down the hall. I would go and clean his house for him. He was Henry Eyring's research partner at Princeton. And he would tell me, right, about why and how they should have won the Nobel Prize, right? He should have, right? Yeah, right, he should have. So, you know, I'm just proud of this place, right? And I think if we harness the power of our alumni, all of us want this place to be better. And I think it'll be fun. That'd be one of the fun things that we do together, right? Is to go out and find and energize the alumni base. Can I just end by saying it would be a complete honor to be your president. I would love to do it. I'm irrationally passionate about this place. And it has changed my life. And I believe my obligation would be to make sure that all of you have the opportunities and resources to change many, many others. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dean Randall, and thank you all for your thoughtful questions. And I'll apologize to those online who had other questions that we weren't able to get to. All right, our next candidate will be here at 3 o'clock. And I just again remind you, please put whatever feedback you are willing to share in one of those 3 ways that we previously described.